damn thing, really, because I have read many, many, many business books. And all the books I've read, they all made certain assumptions in terms of the type of resources a person has. That we all have access to the same networks, that we can go into a bank and get a loan, and all of these assumptions. And I had never read a book that was written for someone like me who comes from a diverse background, who is a Black woman, and who's historically maybe couldn't go into a bank and get a loan and had to figure out other ways in which to build businesses. So I wrote this book for the 99.9% of the world that aren't rich white guys. But ironically enough, I've had a number of very, very successful rich white guys read the book, and they love it too, because they're like, we didn't know that it was just hard. And it's opened our eyes to some things that we didn't even know about. And so when we work with our entrepreneurs or friends or our team members, we're able to have a different perspective that we didn't have before. One of the things that surprised me in writing a book was really the self-discovery that comes when you're writing. When you're putting all the lessons you've learned, when you're doing really deep research on something, it changes you as well. But the importance of family, that was one of the things that I knew, but it came out even more so in writing the book, how when you are a woman entrepreneur or a person of color entrepreneur, or maybe an entrepreneur who comes from a disadvantaged background economically, how much you have to rely on your family and your friends and your community to really support you, and to help you do what you want to do. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's not easy. It is tough. It is exhausting. But knowing that you have people behind you who are there to support you, who can do things even as little as like just cooking dinner and like bringing over a dish for you on the night that you're just so exhausted, like little things like that are really crucial to our success and has been crucial to my own success. Having the background as an epidemiologist has been really interesting and helpful. And how it's helped me as an entrepreneur is that I understand data. I understand it. I'm not afraid of it because I was trained to understand it and not be afraid of it and to translate it. And so that's been really, really helpful for me. I like numbers and I like spreadsheets. And so it's been really helpful in understanding data and understanding trends and then translating it. It also has been really helpful in dealing with people, because as an epidemiologist, I'm looking at things at the population level. Like, how does this particular event, in the case of epidemiology, it's a disease, but in business, it could be your company, it could be change in environmental or economic conditions. How does this impact people and the way people move and the way people react? And so having the epidemiological training has given me a very good foundation for understanding that and understanding people and their reactions to things. Also, it's been quite helpful over the past 2 years, the number of texts I've gotten from people of like, and having to explain, and also how, from a business perspective, the impact of, diseases and these sort of things, factors are going to have a continuous impact on us as we build our businesses. One of the ways to bring your authentic self to work is really centering your humanity and their humanity too. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We're all human beings in this world trying to live. And I honestly believe we all want to do our best. Even if we don't always do our best, we want to do our best. And so one of the ways to bring your authentic self is to find a point of connection that is true to you with that other person. And so building connections through that, it could be that you both like a particular sport. It could be something, but it needs to be authentic to you. So it's not about them, not finding what they like. If they like sailing and you hate water, that's not what I'm talking about. At times, you have to speak truth to power, even when it's difficult, even when it may not turn out great for you. And so I think that's where having your core values, your personal core values, which I talk about in the book a lot, become very, very, very important. It really comes from, my parents. I grew up with parents who took a risk. My parents left Milwaukee, where we knew everyone, both sets of grandparents, and moved to Minneapolis. I was a young child at that point, and left everything they knew. And they took this risk, and it paid off. And I think when you are a young child, particularly when you come from a family that has taken great risk, whether it's you're a child of immigrants, whether your family's moved across the country, whether your mom was divorced and raised kids, like whatever it may be, and you see someone take a risk and then come out on the other side of it positively, it has a big impact on who you are. And so for me, I know I can do whatever needs to be done because I was never told I couldn't do what needed to be done. I saw my parents take a risk and then win. My parents never once told me I couldn't do something. Um, and as a young Black woman being brought up in a place where you had possibilities, I had a crazy imagination. I did the most craziest things, like some of my ideas, but they never told me that's stupid. No, you can't do that. And so I grew up with this belief in infinite possibilities for myself. As I talk about in the story in the book, you 26-year-old white dude who just graduated from Stanford, you're not going to tell me that I'm not great because I mean, I've always been great. Like your opinion is not going to change the belief in what I can do, because I know I can do it because it's been done and I've seen it been done. And so that's where it comes from. I think for those who are kind of questioning, how do I show up? How do I maintain that? I always think of a story. A good friend of mine, Cheryl Conti, told me, and she says this often to me a lot. She said, when you walk into the room, you are the coolest person they've ever met. And so, for people to know when you walk in the room and you're different, and you walk into a room where everybody's the same, they've been seeing the same Patagonia vest, what is it, bonobos khaki jeans and like Allbirds sneakers for like a week. And here, I show up being me. I mean, for them, this is like this is refreshing. This is like, wow, they get to look at something different. It's like breaking the monotony of everything else. And so going into that and showing that you are like the coolest person. So everyone believe when you come into the room, you are the coolest person they met that day for the sheer fact that you are probably vastly different than what they see on a daily basis. And for that reason alone, you are incredibly interesting to them. You come in with that, and it helps you to maintain that strength and that belief in yourself. It's really important to do a self-assessment about who you are and where your core values are, because particularly as a diverse entrepreneur, but really any entrepreneur, you're going to be challenged. You are going to be challenged. That is part of entrepreneurship, and that's part of the journey. And you're going to be challenged to make decisions on things that are questionable, things that may make you kind of pause there. I don't know about that. Things that may make you question your own integrity. And it's very hard to make a decision on what you should do if you don't know who you are and what you value. And by knowing what it is that you value, you're able to see whether or not this thing that's being asked of you or your company fits into who you are and your value. And the hardest thing, and I know this for a fact because I've had to do it, is to say no to something that didn't sit right. When you make decisions based upon what it is that you value, even if it is extremely hard at that moment to do, it may seem like, oh my gosh, like this is like, I'm done. The universe has a way of rewarding you for that. And it has a way of making it right, and many times making it even better than what it would have been if you had said yes. The tech industry has evolved. Um, it's been a while though, but the tech industry has evolved, and there's a lot of bright points that we're seeing. The increase in the number of Black investors, the increase in the number of women investors, the number of women-led companies that have exited, who are listed, from Stitch Fix and others. So there is a lot of hope. There's a lot of growth. Uh, but there's a long way to go. Last year, actually, women got slightly less in venture capital than previous years. So we still have a lot to go. Uh, but but the future is bright. and the road is ahead of us, and the road is paved, and we can continue to walk it, and we are walking it, and that to me is very exciting. What I hope that people take away from this book is that you can actually build a damn thing, and that you can do it. It may be a little bit different. The path may be different from us, but there is a way to do it, and there's a way to do it while still maintaining who you are. That still maintains your core values and what you believe in. And I think that's really, really important. Having been in the startup community for a while, there's this belief that you have to be, excuse my language, an asshole, or you have to be this sort of type of person in order to be successful in this space. And I don't believe that at all. I think you can be brilliant at your work, but you can also be a good person too. And so what I'm hoping that people take away from this book is not only the details of building your personal advisory board, how to raise money and things like that, but how to do it while also maintaining your own integrity and your own core values. The book is how to build a successful business if you're not a white guy. But I also want to encourage white men to read the book because it will give them a perspective that I'm positive many haven't seen before. Steve Case, who's one of the people who endorsed the book and was the founder of AOL, was like, I learned stuff. I did not know this. And he's like, Kathryn, I've known you for a while, and I didn't know you went through all this stuff. And I didn't know all these things that you had to go through. And now I'm a better investor because now I have a perspective on what my, companies of color are dealing with and the layers they have to deal with. And now I know a better way to help them. And so I think that's really exciting for me if that can also come from this book as well.